I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're going to be taking a detailed look and comparing the Tortuga Travel Backpack Pro, Lite, and Expandable. Let's dive in. Just from looking at these on the outside, you can tell that they all take the same design form. So a lot of the organization is going to be very similar. The biggest differences are in the materials and like how they carry. So we're going to start off with the Pro version over here. We have the Pro version, the Lite version, and then this is the Expandable version. With the Pro version, we have the shell material is their Shell 200 fabric, which is I'll bring this up a little closer to the camera. It's a recycled polyester face fabric with a like 45-degree recycled polyester cross ply and then recycled ripstop polyester backing fabric, which is all just a really long way to say that it's kind of like a crunchier, like X-Pack kind of feeling material. So this is going to be like particularly durable, a little bit more weatherproof, that sort of a thing, which you could tell there's also like the reverse coil AquaGuard YKK zippers, which the other ones just have reverse coil. So with the Pro, a lot of the like features that you have are just going to be a little bit elevated, which makes sense because it's the Pro version. So that's this one over here. With the Lite in the middle, we have a 630D Cordura nylon. I'll bring that up closer to the camera. And this is actually the same material on the Expandable as well. So these two are very similar with the materials that they're made of. It's going to be a little bit lighter. The Pro is going to be like that, you know, enhanced, more durable, or, you know, a little bit more beefy, I guess you could say. In terms of weight, we have 4.5 pounds, 3.5 pounds, and then the Expandable is actually 3.6 pounds, but it's 3.2 without the hip belt. So it's kind of just like in terms of like weight, these are very similar to each other, but you obviously, the Expandable is going to be a little bit smaller. So a little bit heavier, like the Lite version is, I guess, the most bang for your buck in terms of like weight to capacity, because these two are 40, the Pro and the Lite are 40, and then the Expandable is 27 liters at its smallest, and it expands out to 32.5. So you don't really have like a one-to-one in terms of like, if we're looking at like a direct comparison, the Lite and the and the Pro are going to be like the most similar just because they are the most similar in size. The Expandable, like, even at its most expanded, you still have like what, 8 less liters than the other two. So it's not like a perfect comparison between them, but I think there is some merit to looking at all of these together. In terms of hardware though, they are all the same. We have YKK zippers and Woojin hardware. So on the outside, like there's not a ton going on. We have like the Tortuga logo right up there. And then in terms of like external features, there's not really like too much happening. We do have carry handles on all the sides here, or just on like the right side and then on the top. And then the carry handle on the Pro is just like a little bit more stiff in the middle, and there's less like padding on the sides. You can see it's like a little bit thicker on the Lite and the Expandable. I like the Lite and the Expandable handles better just because it's a little bit softer on my hands. More of a personal thing. And then with the water bottle pocket, it's like a stretchy mesh water bottle pocket on the Lite, a little bit like beefier mesh on the Expandable, and then the same like shell material on the Pro. And then on top of that, with the Expandable, you do have compression buckles, which help lock down the fit if you're using that expansion system but don't need it fully. Similar to the rest of these bags, there are a lot of similarities on the like harness system, and then there are a few things that like 2 bags will have but the last one won't, and it kind of interchanges. So in terms of features that they all have a sternum strap on a sliding rail. So that's on all of these here. It feels nice and sturdy, does a really good job taking the weight off when you're walking around. I will say that all of these bags do a really good job with that. So I think they really excel with the harness system in terms of carry comfort. So really you can't go wrong with any of them. But with they also all have load lifters here. And that is another thing that helps really like take the weight off of you, in addition to removable hip belts. So With the Pro, this is kind of where it starts to get a little bit different. With the Pro, the hip belt is like this really beefy one. It comes with pockets. I don't really personally find myself needing these. I kind of wish that they had like the option to just use these ones instead, because these are the ones that are on like the Lite and the Expandable. There's no pocket or anything like that, and they're just like a little bit more low profile. It just felt like these were a little bit too beefy for me personally. And in addition to that, I felt like the shoulder straps on the Pro were a little bit stiffer. So you can see like when I don't know, it's kind of hard to like tell just on camera, but like when I squish them in, there's less give on the Pro than there is on the Lite. And then even on the Expandable, it just is a little bit more flexible. And I felt like that lended to a more comfortable carry for me personally. I like there to be a little bit more give in my back panels. If you like that stiffer, more secure fit, then the Pro is going to be a really great option for that. In addition, the Expandable is the only one at this moment that has a luggage pass-through, so you can see that goes through there. I know that was something that people were wishing that was on the Lite. The Lite doesn't have that. It does have a nice beefy air channel like the others do. They all have got like really significant padding. The padding on the Pro is like a little bit stiffer and a little more elevated, a little bit more firm. But again, still very comfortable across the board for all of these. And then we also, with the Pro here, the biggest difference is going to be its extendable and height adjustable torso fit. So what you do is you've got this little Velcro section here, and it's very hard to do this, so bear with me. You just kind of shove your hand in there and detach it. And granted, this is something you want to be a little bit more difficult because you don't want it like detaching while you're wearing the bag. But essentially you can see the little lines here, and you can just shift that up and down, and then you just secure it in place. I keep it as low as possible because I have a shorter torso, and that was fine for me. The bag was still a bit long on me, but it's nice to have that option to be able to adjust that torso length. With the Lite here, this is best for 19 to 21 inch torsos, and the Expandable is best for 17 to 19 inch torsos. So really, I think what it comes down to is like, apart from the features and like the materials possibly, or maybe even the weight, the biggest thing is going to be like, what size do you need? For me personally, with the shorter torso length, like this and this size bag is gonna be perfectly fine, the Expandable. But if I wanted something a little bit bigger, the Lite is definitely more comfortable for me just because it's more flexible, the lighter materials, and the torso length is a little bit more designed for me, versus the Pro can start to feel a little bit bulky. So it's kind of up to you what feels best. And then the one last thing to mention is that the Pro, the straps are not stowable, but with the Lite and the Expandable, they are. So what you do is you've got the little clips here, and then you can put them in this back panel, get them all tucked away. In this case, the Lite doesn't have like, obviously you don't have the luggage pass-through to put it on luggage, but with the Expandable, you can detach these, tuck the harness system away, and then put it on your luggage so that the straps aren't flapping all over the place. This is the Travel Backpack Pro. When it's on, you can see that it just feels, or looks very stiff rather, and it looks pretty beefy on me as well. So that's what I mean when I say that the harness system is like a little bit chunkier. I also, like I mentioned, don't really love this hip belt just because of how big it is, and the pockets aren't crazy functional for me. But if you do want something with more of that like customizable fit in terms of that adjustable back panel length, then this is gonna be a really great fit for you. It is comfortable. I just find the other one's a little bit more comfortable. Here is the Lite on. You can see it's a little bit more, I don't know if it looks more contoured to my back, but it definitely feels more contoured to my back. It doesn't feel like the back panel is quite as stiff and straight. It feels like it's curving a little bit more, which, like I mentioned, is something that I'm more of a fan of. If that's not a huge deal breaker for you, then that's not gonna be a big deal. But I do think that the hip belt is a little bit more low profile, a little less like chunky. I feel less overwhelmed by it. And these shoulder straps are just feeling a little bit more flexible. So in terms of carry comfort, this is definitely one of my favorite in terms of like size to carry comfort ratio. This is the Expandable. And when it comes to overall fit, this is definitely the best for me just because it is that design, and the smaller design that's better for shorter torso lengths. I have a 16-inch torso. So this is definitely gonna be like the best fit for me. So if you know you need the smaller size or you have a shorter torso, then I would definitely consider this one. It has this very similar carry comfort to the Lite in terms of like feeling a little bit more contoured to my back. So in terms of, you know, my size, I would rank like carry comfort with the Expandable being the most comfortable, then the Lite, then the Pro. But that's more so just because of my body size. I would say that they're all pretty equally comfortable. Maybe the Pro a little less so because it is stiff, but that really does come down to personal preference. If you're finding this video helpful, hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. Looking at the secondary compartments on all three of these, this I would say is where they're the most similar. The biggest difference is going to be in these water bottle pockets that I mentioned earlier. Like side by side here, we've got a couple of different like materials, basically 3 different materials. This is a 16-ounce water bottle. You can see that it fits pretty nicely in the Pro here. It doesn't go all the way down to the bottom, but it does like expand out based off of, you know, how big the bottle is. But I do feel like I just generally have a more secure fit with the water bottle in these 2 mesh ones. I think that's a little bit, I mean, it is pretty objective just by how they fit in there, but I also think I'm a little bit biased because I like mesh water bottle pockets more. They just feel a little bit more secure. But something to keep in mind, I mean, if hydration is like a huge selling point for you. Also, you know, we've got the 1 pocket here, 1 pocket on the Lite, like 1 on the Expandable, 1 on the Lite, but you technically do have 2 pockets on the Pro. So that would be the biggest difference. In terms of other pockets here, we do on the Pro have the front compartment like the Lite and the Expandable also have. So basically it's like a flat pocket. And with the Lite and the Expandable, they are a little bit on the smaller side. So you get like about here and then about here, whereas the Pro is a lot more of that front panel. So, you know, you do kind of sacrifice a little bit of storage space or organization space if you were to go with one of these smaller ones. There is a top quick grab pocket as well. And this is where like it has a key leash. This is where I put small items like my wallet or my phone. With the inside, we've got like that same kind of ripstop material. And then with the Pro, you know, opening that up, it's like a little bit sturdier, but same kind of deal on the inside in terms of storage. Like all of these pockets come down, you know, just maybe to like halfway through like the Tortuga logo. They're not overly large, but you do get a decent amount of space. But as for like storage, that's really all that there is on the outside for the Lite and Expandable. You do on the Pro get an admin panel. So if that's something you're into, that's really great. I don't really find myself using admin panels, to be quite honest. They don't really feel the most functional for me all the time, just because like I don't use these card slots. Like I'm not gonna put my cards in those. I don't really need pen slots. These mesh pockets like are nice for quick grab items, but for the most part, like I can get everything I need into those 2 external pockets on either of these bags. However, not everybody is that way. So it is nice with the Pro to have that option. And then you also do have, you know, all that storage that goes down to the bottom of the pack here. And it is pretty roomy. The more you pack out the inside, the more it cuts into the space though. So it's not like independent space completely, but you do get a decent amount of it. So you can see like how it gussets out. You do have like about that much room of space to work with. So that's really nice. Also lockable zippers, which is really good for a little extra security. And then we have the laptop compartments on all of these bags as well. So if we look at, let's do the Pro first. The Pro, you get like good visibility. There is like a tablet sleeve. There is this laptop sleeve. It's like a nice felt, comfy material, like very nice to the touch. And then we have a mesh zippered pocket that's like elevated so that it's not gonna get crushed by, you know, any of your other tech or, you know, get too in the way. So that's really good if you don't want to like have an additional pouch to throw all your chargers and stuff. You can just kind of stick that in there. So that's nice to have that. I think in terms of laptop pocket, this one's definitely my favorite. That said, I don't really need that much when it comes to a laptop pocket. So with like the Lite, for example, you've just got this here and you just kind of drop your laptop in there and it fits perfectly fine. And it is a elevated bottom, so it is like a false bottom. So your device is protected. You know, you just don't have like all of that extra space and storage. And then the Expandable is similar, but you get a little bit of a wider access look at it. So in terms of, tech protection, I'd say they're all pretty safe. It just depends on your needs. So I've already taken the liberty of opening all of these up so we can take a look at the inside compartments. This is, as a reminder, this is the Pro, this is the Lite, this is the Expandable. You can already see, I think it's harder to see when the bags are like flatter and next to each other, but you can see how much smaller the Expandable is. It really is like significantly shorter, not as wide, all that jazz. So with the Pro here, what I like about this is its bucket shape is pretty structured. So as I'm loading this up, even when there's stuff in this other side, it doesn't collapse so much. But that's not necessarily the case with the Lite and the Expandable. So you can see it more with the Expandable, it just starts to pull down. The Lite, I kind of have adjusted it so that it's sitting a little bit more straight. But you can see how those edges are kind of like collapsing in. This was a pre-production sample, so we've got some like loose threading that's now coming out. But with these, like in terms of organization, they are very, very similar, especially on this bucket side. The biggest thing is going to be that like kind of collapsing. So we've got the Tortuga, we've got they're like larger packing cube, and then we've got the two smaller. Those all fit very nicely next to each other, and you can see there's like a decent amount of room to spare. Whereas when I move it over into the Expandable, they fit pretty much perfectly, and there's not room to spare on either side. So that kind of gives you like a perspective of what it actually looks like when you start to like get all of this loaded out with gear. But in terms of like bucket shape, you can't really go wrong with any of these. They work really well. They feel very, sturdy. The biggest thing is the Pro, it just collapses less, like it holds its structure more because it's a more structured material. But in terms of everything else, you can't really go wrong. The biggest difference in the inside here is when you actually get into the other side. So I'm actually just gonna lift these all up so we can take a look at them. So shift them over, Pro, Lite, and the Expandable. You can see Travel Backpack Lite right there, so that's helpful. The Pro and the Expandable are the same. Let me shift this actually up a little bit for you so it's easier to see. The Expandable and the Pro are the same because there's just like one big pocket on this side, and it opens down like towards the center, and then that just kind of opens up like normal. And then you can see that there's like a decent amount of bucket space to pack in all of your gear in here. So, you've got a couple inches of depth to really load stuff up. I just have like an extra layer in here, but I was actually able to like take an extra layer, roll it up, and everything, it would still like zip over that. And even the same deal in the Expandable here. The biggest difference between them is that the Pro, this is just kind of what it is. With the Expandable, this is the side of the bucket that actually expands. So if we go on the outside here, I'm going to detach those. There is a zipper track that expands all around, opens up, and gives you a couple inches of extra packing space. So then you can see the depth goes from let me show it like that. The depth goes from there to there. So you do get, that's where like the extra, literage comes in on that Expandable version. So that's really like the only difference in terms of, big single bucket shape design between the Pro and the Expandable. So I'm gonna close that, kind of tuck that off to the side. The Lite, however, doesn't expand. Obviously it's not the Expandable version. So it's similar to the Pro in that it's just like a fixed bucket design. However, this is two separate pockets. And what I liked about this is that it separated my gear for me. I didn't have to with the Pro, I had to use cubes and use a lot of them in here because otherwise stuff just flew around. I liked that in the Travel Backpack Lite, I could kind of organize, top or bottom more or less depending on what kind of gear I was carrying. I could be a little bit more loose with my organization just based off of what my needs were on that particular trip. So that was very nice. So, in terms of organization between all of these, obviously you're gonna get different features, get different benefits by choosing one or the other. The expandable is going to be like more for if you have a smaller torso, or if you don't really need a 40-liter backpack, like that's going to be a really great option because you have more flexibility with the sizing. In terms of travel backpack Lite or Pro, I would say if you need to keep it simple, like if you really don't need that many features in a travel backpack, the Lite's going to be a really great option for that. Whereas the Pro is like if you know, or maybe a full-time traveler, or you need something a little bit more durable, or you have a lot of tech that you carry, that's going to be a really good option because it has more built-in organization for you with that admin pocket, with the laptop compartment. You know, you've got a few more options to kind of customize your organization a little bit more, whereas the Lite and the expandable are a little bit more loosey-goosey with it. So there you have it, the Tortuga Pro, Lite, and Expandable. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.